Let's look back at the value of 37,100 grains of rice. To understand how there are 3 significant figures in this measurement, we have to remember the definition all known values plus a guess. In other words, I know for sure that there's 30,000 grains. I know for sure that there are 7,000 grains, but I'm not sure if there are 100. Maybe it's 200. Maybe it's, 0 hundreds. That's where we get the 3 significant figures from. These zeros are simply placeholders so that we can keep the magnitude of the measurement. When you look back at the 41 gumballs, notice that it had an infinite number of significant figures. And that's because I literally counted the number of gumballs. There is no guess. And when you have a number with no guess and you know for sure, it has an infinite number of significant figures. Significant figures are important to chemists because as we start to do the math that gets us from the atomic level to the bulk level, we can't report our answer exactly as it appears in the calculator because the calculator is going to not take into account significant figures. And as scientists, we can't report our final answers any more specific than our least precise measurement or our least specific measurement. So we always need to keep in mind what quantity of significant figures need to be reported in our final answer. All right. Let's get back to that jar of sulfur before, just to have a better understanding of the math with something tangible before we go into more additional practice problems. We hypothetically said in this picture that there were 1, 2, 3 bunches or moles of the sulfur. Sulfur's elemental symbol is an S. We had said that if I wanted to figure out how many atoms are in that sample, I would have to have 3 times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, because that's how many atoms are in a 1 mole sample. So ultimately what we're doing is we're doing unit conversions. I want to cancel out the unit of moles and leave me with atoms. If I then wanted to figure out, well, what mass would that have? I'd have to times that by another relationship that would allow me to get to the molar mass. Because we're left with atoms and the relationship with molar mass says, the molar mass will be equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd particles. Mathematically, it seems silly. We would never do this if it was an actual problem. But again, I'd want to get out of that. There are 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms in every mole, and every mole is worth the molar mass. And the molar mass of sulfur is 32.06 grams. And I know that from the periodic table. So there are different kinds of mathematical equations that you can do, but ultimately, whenever you're solving mole problems, they're all unit conversions. And the way that we're going to relate them is with fractions. So we know 1 mole consists of 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd particles. And remember from one of our earlier lessons that a particle is just a generic term for either an atom or a molecule or an ion. Technically, it could be pencils or jump ropes or chickens. Anything that's an item that you can count, technically you can have a mole of. But because the number of the mole is so big, because atoms are so small, you don't usually use a mole to count tangible items. Another way you could write this relationship is that there are 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd particles per mole. Or if you wanted to convert with mass, you could say there are a certain number of grams, which we call molar mass, per 1 mole. Or you can have the reverse fraction. 1 mole is to the molar mass of the substance. And again, the molar mass comes from the periodic table. All right, so a practice problem. How many grams are in a 3.5 mole sample of, let's do water. How do I go about solving this? Well, as with any word problem, you want to always analyze what are you looking for, how many grams, and what data are you given to work with. We're told that we have 3.5 moles of water. So I want to have some relationship between mass and moles. Going back up to our relationship here, our little triangle, mass, I see that here, molar mass. And moles, I see it here. So this is the relationship that I want to look at, molar mass to moles. Looking at my unit conversions here, molar mass to mole. That means I'm going to be focusing on these two possible choices. Well, how I start solving this problem is I start with the given information. 3.5 moles of water. Now I know I want to do unit conversions. I want to cancel out the unit of moles. Well, the only way I can do that mathematically is if I have moles show up in the denominator of my fraction. And I want my answer to be in grams. So I want grams to be in my numerator so that it doesn't cancel out and I can solve the problem. So the fraction that I'm focusing on is this one, molar mass to 1 mole. What is the molar mass of water? We calculated it before, 18.02 grams per mole. 18.02 grams per 1 mole. So now we do a little bit of math. 3.5 times 18.02 equals, on the calculator, 63.07 grams. That's the mass of water if I were to have a 3.5 mole sample. Now we said before that we can't express our final answer more specific than our least precise measurement, and that is from significant figures. When I look at my first data, 3.5, that has 2 significant figures, and I'll abbreviate significant figures S.F. The number 18.02 has 4 significant figures. And 1 mole, well, we're just counting exactly 1. That has an infinite number of significant figures, so we don't look at it. So I worked with one measurement that had 2 significant figures, another measurement that had 4 significant figures. That means that this final answer on the calculator can't be more specific than my least specific measurement. My least specific measurement is the one that has 2 significant figures. So what will the 2 significant figures be in the numbers on the calculator? Well, the 6 tens and the 3 ones. So I look at the number in the tenths to decide, does the 3 and the 1s spot stay the same or does it round up? And the answer is it stays the same. So I would accurately express this answer as 63 grams of water. And that would be my final answer. Let's transition now to do some more practice problems, and we'll look at them together as a class, and then you can go ahead and try some independently on your own for homework. Thanks for watching. Bye.